Good day everybody and welcome back to Below the Curve Gaming. It's Martin here and today I'm going to do a bit of a faction focus on the Japanese Secessionist Army, or JSA, for Infinity. So to start with, I purchased the vast majority of this army from Helveticus Games. I briefly mentioned them in our last video. There is a referral code in the description which, if you use it when you create your account, it'll give you points, which in turn will save you money over time on your purchases. Tom has fantastic customer service. Tom that runs Helveticus is being able to order in anything that Ben or I have asked for in an extremely prompt manner, and they dispatch using courier, so you're getting your items the next day. Now, living up in Aberdeen, this is always a bonus, so I would strongly recommend checking them out. And if you do, then I will not lie, it will give us points onto our account, but we would be very grateful. So with that being said, let's move on to the faction focus itself. So I initially got this army as the action pack, the JSA action pack. And in the action pack, it's the models you can see here in the center. We'll just zoom in a bit so we can have a look around. You get 3 of the Kaisotsu infantry. Now these are your 9-point core infantry with Combi Rifles. You get the Kemptai with the boarding shotgun at the back. This profile has chain of command. You get the Goto Biker character, the Karoshi Rider, and she has a lieutenant option, making her a good starting place to lead your fledgling army. It comes with 2 of the Ryuken 9, who are your mimetismed mine layers. One carries a heavy rocket launcher, and the other one has a hacking profile or a regular mine layer profile. The hacking profile comes with the killer hacking device. It comes with the Daiokai. Now, all the action packs come with a large model on a 40mm base, but the Daiokai is the only one of them all that is availability 1. But he's not bad. He's not the best, but we'll go into a bit more detail with him very well. And then it comes with an Onawabin, which is kind of a super ninja. Now, it also has a lieutenant option. However, the catch with them is they have hidden deployment. And if you deploy your lieutenant in hidden deployment, you immediately start the game in lost lieutenant, which is really, really unhelpful. So if you were just buying the action pack to get going, you'd have about 240 points. I'd recommend that you lead with the Karoshi Rider. She's a bit of a combat monster, to be honest. She's got good stats. She has close combat 23, martial arts of 1, so that takes her close combat up a bit. Mimetism -3, as most bikes do. Now, ITS Season 13 starts in a couple of days, at which point all bikes have Mimetism -3, which is fantastic. She's a forward observer. She has Dogged. Dogged is a poor man's no wind incapacitation, be the first to admit, but it's still, it's better than nothing. She has Impetuous, being a biker. Now, in the new ITS pack, you have the option at the start of the game not to activate Impetuous. Equipment-wise, she's got a Combi Rifle, much and such, but you could stick on suppressive fire. She's got a light shotgun. She carries decharges and a breaker pistol, which is always handy because a breaker pistol allows you to gut things that are very low BTS, which can be really handy if you're trying to take down some Ariadna psychopath like a Varangian guard that's charging towards you. She also has an AP and shock close combat weapon. Now, pretty much every heavy infantry in the game is immune to shock, which somewhat reduces the effectiveness of the AP. However, it's always helpful if it turns out that maybe it's a medium infantry or just one of those slightly more generic models you're facing. So I feel for 29 points, she's fantastic. The Kemptai come with a few different profiles. So they have the option of 2 chain of command. One has a combi rifle, one has a boarding shotgun. I just tend to go for the boarding shotgun one, to be honest. They're very averagely statted, but they're not particularly expensive. So when you're taking them as a chain of command, they also have the number 2 ability. So should your fire team leader take an unfortunate round to the face, it means your fire team isn't disrupted, which is yet again quite handy. Now, most of the time the fire team they're going to be in is of Kaisotsus, who are about the worst statted troops in the game. Very low ballistic skill 10. Low physical as well, physical 10. So willpower 13, so I mean their medic and their hacker aren't bad. I mean technically they're better than a Fusilier in that respect. However, their heavy weapon options of the HMG or the missile launcher. Now it's the missile launcher, not the rocket launcher, which is really, really good because it fires explosive rounds. However, on a model that at best will be ballistic skill 13 if it's in a full fire team, and maybe 16 if you've got a generous range band, it's not fantastic. I actually find myself taking a fire team that's just equipped with the Combi Rifles because ARO-wise, they throw out a decent number of dice. If you have to actually shoot at something, well, you're probably throwing 4 dice at it. The Kemptai also comes with the option of the Shock Marksman rifle. Again, not bad, but what makes that profile a lot better is they have the, I believe, just in case I'm wrong, the only MSV visor in the list, and it's an MSV2, which again isn't bad. So it can at least keep people honest when there's mimetism and camo tokens faffing around. However, they're meant to be the sort of secret police. When you consider that the Pan-Oceania Blackfriars, who are their sort of secret police inquisitors, also come with a biometric visor, you can't help but feel a wee bit shortchanged. But this is kind of the theme of the JSA list, I'm afraid, is that everything's just a bit basic. It's very good in close combat, but as many people have commented, Infinity is a game where everybody has a gun, and yeah, there's a few models with swords, but it's a game of shooting people first and foremost. However, if you need to hold your table side, a table quarter, or bury something under bodies, you can do a lot worse than go for 4 Kaisotsus and a Kemptai, or even a Domaru, who we'll come to in a bit, a Kemptai and some Kaisotsus. They definitely have their place, both of them, but it's knowing that place. The Kemptai is not as well statted as you think he's going to be, and the danger of that is that if anybody with a chain rifle ever gets close, this unit is dead. They have pretty much rocked up in their t-shirts and like evening wear, and they have really, really low physical stats. Kemptai's physical 10. You're not dodging anything with these guys. Now the Ryuken over here, these guys range from 24 points for the cheapest version of the girl, 25 points for the heavy rocket launcher. Now heavy rocket launcher is a dangerous piece of kit. It's 2 shots, it's continuous damage, has a blast mode, which is really, really handy. Again, it can be a really good way to deter fire teams. The top version is, I believe, 29 points, maybe slightly cheaper, and that's the killer hacking device version of the girl. So these look like they should fight together, but they really don't. The chap has hidden deployment, and they both have mimetism -6. They're both mine layers, so you deploy him, you deploy your camo token -6. You can place your mine as well, which is really, really good, because anybody who's played JSA more than once is going to work out very quickly they're mines, but they're still mines. They're shock mines. you have to treat mines with some respect. The girl has advanced deployment 8 inches, which puts you 20 inches onto the table, and she can lay a mine as well. If she's a hacking profile, that's actually threatening things in the opponent's half of the table. Now, it's a killer hacking device, so it's actually very limited in what it can do. But it does allow you to use Cyber Mask, so you can enter an impersonation state, and if, with a bit of luck, you can get close to somebody. She's got an SMG, and she's also got the obligatory breaker pistol with +1 burst, which isn't bad, and she's carrying decharges. So if you're playing Sabotage, you can actually deploy her within a move if you pick something that was just on the centre line, which is really, I would say, abusing Sabotage a wee bit, but hey-ho. But you can pick something you can get to very, very quickly, and with your mimetism and the possibility of your impersonation, you could actually get there without the opponent being able to do anything about it, which is really happy if you just need to grab that objective point from your classified card. Now, the Daiokai at the back, they are 48 and 49 points, I believe. They have 2 profiles. Now, stats-wise, they're not bad. They're close combat 21. Yeah, 2 swords, infinity, game of guns, remember though. Ballistic skill 13. It's as good as you're getting, I'm afraid, in JSA. Physical 14, most big guys are. Whip 13, not bad. They can't be your lieutenant, so you don't really need to worry too much. It's okay against hacking attacks. I mean, it's better than Pan-Oceana, but it's not saying much. Armour 5 is a bit disappointing. I can't help but feel they could have maybe bumped them up to Armour 6. BTS 3 is a real kicker, though. When you consider some of the Pan-Oceana stuff goes up to BTS 9. If you get hit by the Oblivion, I believe it's the double action one, or Carbonite, which is a damage 16 one, you're either entering immobilized or isolated. You're pretty much not going to get past it with a low BTS like that. The Silhouette 5. Now, this is actually a bit bizarre because the Silhouette 5 marker only comes up to the shoulders. So actually you've got this big hat with its big horns and the back banners, which are far taller than the Silhouette. And this is something I didn't actually realise. They have 2 weapon loadouts. Both of them come with AP plus double action close combat weapon. That is insane. They've got Panzerfaust, which is not to be sniffed at, and actually it gives you a bit of extra range and that explosive damage if you need it. And they either come with the Red Fury, which I usually find myself taking. So that's the 4-shot. It's effectively a Spitfire that's damage 13, but it also deals shock, which can be, well, devastating against light infantry because you'll take them down and it can ruin like a Fusilier fire team's day or a Gulam team or something like that, where you can just hose them, take them out of action, no chance of them being resurrected, and thus you're neutering usually the one big gun or like the Orc Trooper who's joined with the Furibach, something like that. They also have the option of the Shock Marksman rifle. So the Red Fury is better in that sort of 8 to 16 range band. So if you think it's going to be a close range game, go for that. Shock's Marksman rifle's got the longer range, but it's got less shots. So you need to sort of weigh them up. I prefer the Red Fury, but I'll be honest, that's because I'm usually so low on my SWCs that I need something to spend them on. He looks really cool. He can join any fire team of Damarus, so you could bung him into the fire team alongside a Damaru and a Tanko. Now that's a total waste of points. Don't do that, because that team's all about getting one model up close and personal, and usually actually using it to give your Tanko the extra shot out of the rocket launcher. What you could do is that you could add him to a fire team of 4 Damaru with chain rifles. Now they're 20 points each. He's just under 50, so you're looking at 130 points. but they've given the +3 ballistic skill. They've given the extra shot, taking his Red Fury up to burst 5. He has +1 damage intrinsically built in, as most of these big guy models do. So it takes the Red Fury up to damage 14. And at the end of the day, Damaru are heavy infantry. They're not to be sniffed at. They can carry AP or EM, close combat weapons. You know, it's dangerous. He has NCO as well, which, if he's wandering around his own, is really beneficial. I often use it to put him into suppressive fire at the end of the turn, which with a Red Fury is a really unpleasant proposition for anybody. So the Onawabin is a super ninja. Now ninjas range from about 26 to the mid-30s in points. They've got a good set of stats. They've got some very good abilities: hidden deployment, camouflage, mimetism, double action close combat weapon. Technically not an ability, but by God is it good. Surprise attack, all the things you would expect in a ninja. The Onawabin just takes it up to the next level. He's got martial arts level 4 as to 3. He's got an extra point of close combat, so he's close combat of 24. So with his martial arts, he goes up to 27, meaning he crits on a 13. He gets +2 physical, so in combat he's up to about physical 14, I want to say. They are those sort of models you have for when you absolutely positively have to kill something. You need to be a bit careful because there's quite a few models now with Natural Born Warrior, which completely shuts off martial arts. The problem with a lot of them is they're also toting quite high martial arts stats themselves, so they can start to reduce your stats. They can increase their own, and suddenly you'll find your Onawabins down at close combat 21, meaning you only crits on a 19, and you're facing a guy who crits on a 16. You don't want to be in that situation. Yeah. They have the option of being a lieutenant. Now, as I said earlier, the danger of this is if you deploy with hidden deployment, you immediately start and lost lieutenant, and you do not want that. However, you can deploy as a camo marker with your advanced deployment or your infiltration. You can still deploy on your side of the board for him to roll the dice. You don't suffer the lost lieutenant if you're a camo marker. So it's a strong choice. I made the gross mistake in my first game of using my Onawabin as lieutenant, and the opening action of the game, a 5-point Hack Islam skirmisher ran forward, past the willpower roll, and chain rifled me in the face with an intuitive shot. I hadn't paid enough attention to my opponent's board, to be fair, but that cost me my lieutenant before I'd as much as done anything. So don't make that mistake. The final model in the action pack is the Cashier Delegate, which is your HVT. She's an absolutely stunning model. The flowers are all sculpted in, which is really nice because it allows you to put a wash in. I used a pink horror wash on her, and it just picks those details out if freehand's not your thing. You will notice all my models look a bit dusty, I think is probably the best way to put it. I used a matte varnish and it's not quite worked out the way I'd hoped. So that's the action pack. It's about 250-ish points. Best way to begin because it saves you money. It gets you models you just can't get anywhere else. So the Kuroshi Rider, the Daiokai. The Daiokai are £30 on eBay. The Ryuken. It's a good, solid place to start. Almost every game you play, you're probably going to be taking a Kemptai. You're going to be taking Ryuken. You may not always take a Daiokai or a Biker, depending on your preference, but it is the core of the JSA list. But the question, of course, is where do you go from here? Luckily, I am prepared, as we can see. So we'll now go through some of the other models I have, take a look at them, and I'll explain how I would use them and where I see the strengths and weaknesses of them and the force as a whole. So here we have 3 of the Haramaki. Now the Haramaki are old models. I will turn this one around just so you can see her a bit better. They've been replaced by the Tanko. The Tanko are stunning new models. They've got big sort of armoured coolie hats. They're just in more imposing poses. you can actually work out where they're armed with. That's a big bonus in itself. But I got the Haramaki because I bought them off somebody on Facebook, and they have done the job admirably. Tankos are your cheap, run-of-the-mill heavy infantry. They have impetuous. They can't form a fire team natively. They need a Domaru or Miyamoto, who we will see here behind them, to lead them. They have 4 options. They have a 17-point heavy infantry option that comes with a Flammenspeer. Flammenspeer is a Panzerfaust that, instead of explosive, does continuous damage. It's not as good, but it has a blast mode, which is really, really handy. That model comes with a Contender, and JSA get a disproportionate amount of Contenders. I really don't rate the Contender. I accept it has double action, which isn't bad as an ARO. It does not have a generous set of range bands. You need a fire team just to give it an extra shot. No, not for me. They also have the option of a light shotgun profile, which comes with a Blitzen, which isn't bad, and a submachine gun profile, which comes with a Blitzen, which is 18 and 19 points respectively. The submachine gun's not bad. A fire team of 3, assuming you've led them with a Domaru or a Miyamoto, will fire at 4 shots. You know, it can be a really unpleasant shot for someone. If you're taking them on their own, you could put them in suppressive fire, and it will scare away most people. They also have a 27-point option that comes with a missile launcher, which is always, in my opinion, worth looking at. I actually haven't taken it yet, but I have been going for quantity over quality, which has meant that the 27-point model isn't really hasn't been an option, but we're going to change it up for the next game. Miyamoto as a leader, assuming you take the FTO option, I don't see why you'd ever take the regular option, so we're going to leave him to the side. For 24 points, you're getting somebody with martial arts level 5. Now, there's only 2 models in the game of martial arts level 5, both of them fighting the JSA faction. The other one being the Shinobi Ketsune, which was the special edition model from, I want to say Operation Ice Storm, but I could be wrong, and Red Veil. Sorry, it was from Red Veil. And it's the female Onawabin. It's a stunning model. But Miyamoto is 24 points for martial arts level 5, an explosive close combat weapon. You don't really need to hear much more than that. He carries a Combi Rifle, a Flash Pulse, and he's whip 15 for some reason, even though he can't be lieutenant, which is a crying shame. But with the Flash Pulse, it does give you the very reliable hit on it, which can be really inconvenient for people. You can also lead them with a Domaru. So the Domaru is just here. Now there's new nice models of Domaru. This is the original chain rifle model. Domaru range between 20 points for carries a chain rifle, like this chap here, through to the mid to high 30s with the lieutenant option who comes with a +1 order, and the Spitfire. They cover a lot of ground. They've got all manner of close combat options. They've got chain rifle profile, combi rifle profile, boarding shotgun profile. They have a Spitfire profile. They have, I believe, forward observer options as well. Domaru aren't bad. They're maybe not Hospital or Night good when it comes to heavy infantry. They're very averagely statted again. And this is a continuous JSA issue of you've got something of close combat of 24, but a BS of 12. They're physical 14, which is a bonus. The BS attacks do come with +1 damage, which is nice. And they have the +2 inch dodge. So you could declare dodge for a whole fire team and then shunt them 4 inches out the way or something, which is really, really handy. They come with Berserk +3. Now we're getting into the ropey territory because with Berserk inevitably comes Frenzy, so you have to be careful. Now if you're in a fire team, that's not an issue, but you need to be careful when you're running these guys individually because you can suddenly find yourself losing your cover bonuses. They can form fireteam duos, so you could take one of them with Daiokai for order efficiency. They can form a fireteam Harris and multi-point a special fireteam Harris with Tankos. And they can form a fireteam Corps. One of them can join a Kaisotsu fireteam. So you could go for a fireteam Corps with the Spitfire loadout, and then you go up to ballistic skill of 15 and you'd have 5 shots in your Spitfire, which is not bad, and you'd also have a paramedic close by. They're only armor 3 and BTS 3, a bit like the Tankos. Tankos are armor 3, BTS 3 as well, so they're very average core heavy infantry. But if you can keep them cover, if you can get the drop on people, they are cheap. JSA most of the time are going to have 15 orders without any hassle, without having to buy the 3-point remotes or the baggage remote. So you can get heavy infantry, and you can get the heavy infantry you want, which is good, because some forces like military orders, for the Pan-Oceania, if you want the good heavy infantry, you're going to be filling the rest of the list with absolute chaff in order to bulk out your orders. And talking briefly of the Kaisotsu again, this is a Kaisotsu upgrade pack. So it comes with, from left to right, a hacker option, so you can see that's a chap there. It comes with a girl with a missile launcher in a full fire team. She goes up, as we said, to the dizzying heights of PS13, and the missile launcher goes up to burst 2. Now, missile launchers are explosive in AP, that is not to be sniffed at. You get the HMG, which is that chap there, and then you get the Kemptai with the MSV visor and the shock marksman rifle model, which is really, really nice. And it's good just to have that extra option. I'm really looking forward to these. Hopefully next time I use them on camera, you'll be able to see these guys in action. Now, talking of heavy infantry as well, we have the Shikami. So the Shikami are what happens if you take an Onawabin and you claw enough armor plates on him to hopefully allow him to survive small arms fire. Shikami are 45 or 48 points, depending if you're the Contender on the left or the Combi Rifle on the right. Combi Rifle, very helpfully, isn't modelled on, but never mind. They come with Super Jump, they come with Climbing Plus, they have Dodge +2, they have Forward Deployment 4 inches, they have Mimetism -6, they're Special Operatives, they have Fireteam Duo, so you can take both of them as a Fireteam for order efficiency. Martial Arts level 3, and to cap it all off, they have AP plus double action close combat weapons. These are your scalpels. Now, the pair of them are going to cost you 93 points between them. You need to run these guys, I believe, in a fire team, because you absolutely need that order efficiency. What you can do is you can fire team to drag them both up the table. You can dodge past. You've got better physical stats. You've got your mimetism -6 to sneak them past stuff. You can get them up to where they need to go, and then you can separate them off and start just murdering things. With Super Jump and Climbing Plus, you can get on top of things, you can get past stuff you don't want to otherwise have to walk over. They're incredibly, incredibly maneuverable. With Super Jump, you do have to be careful because you can be shot when you're in midair, which is a tragic way to go. Ben had this happen to him when he used Durock in a game and got boarding shotgun by somebody he didn't even realise was the other side of the building. But these guys, I'm really looking forward to trying out. Down here, we have Yojimbo and his Crazy Koalas. Yojimbo is the best 18-point model in the game, in my opinion. He's on a bike, which means in about 2 days' time, he will have the option of losing Impetuous and gaining Mimetism. He will be doing so. He comes with Crazy Koalas, and he's a mine layer, so you can start the game with a perimeter weapon down, and when he takes the place deployable action, he can punt it out 8 inches due to the fact that it's a perimeter weapon. He carries a double action close combat weapon, which is yet again fantastic. He's got a +1 burst contender, which actually isn't bad. Now, he can never fire team or anything, but it does mean if you need to double tap something that's between 8 and 16, you're doing so with 2 shots and double action. He's close combat at 24 with martial arts level 4 and physical of 14. So he shoots up to physical 17, I believe, in combat. And close combat 27, meaning he crits on a 13. He is an absolute beast. He is naturally let down by having an arm of 1, but he does have no wound incapacitation. I cannot ever see myself leaving home without you, Jimbo, to be honest. Particularly with the bike changes for Season 13. Talking of which, we have our Goto Bikers here. So our Goto Bikers range from 18 to 28 points. They're basically the Kuroshi Rider Light. They have 2 hacker profiles. They have a regular hacker and a killer hacker profile. Now, I think I'd always be going for the regular, personally. They come with a Spitfire option, a boarding shotgun option, which is 18 points, and they come with 2 Combi Rifles. They are also availability 4. Now, with the new bike rules, as I keep going on about, that ability to lose impetuous and be able to claim cover makes these people really, really desirable. I'm going to buy a second box. I'm going to buy the Spec Ops model, and I'm going to stick the Combi Rifles, pointing hand, etc. on the different models, just so they all look different. So I'm really looking forward to a list with 6 bikes in it, just to see how it goes. Now, I don't have the model yet, but it's on order from Helveticus, of the Motorized Bounty Hunter. So certain of ITS Season 13 rules, both players get a Bounty Hunter on a bike. So Ben and I have ordered 1 each. So I am going to attempt a 7 bike list. I'm really looking forward to showing that off. I think that'll be a really good video, or it'll be a miserable failure, but either way it's going to be really cool. The ability to drive a hacker 14 inches and then be in a position to defensively hack is really, really strong. I don't think you necessarily want to drive up and then start sitting around trying to hack. I think what you want to do is hide behind a building near some heavy infantry and be able to hack them. Now, you do need to be aware of stealth, because that will completely shut down your plans, but I think it, against certain forces, will absolutely throw a spanner in their works. So I'm going to try this out. Not sure, it won't obviously work particularly well against Ben's Ariadna, unless he decides to take the US and field blackjacks. Might work better against Sarge Stevens using heavy infantry forces, though. He does run the Invincibles force, so I could see it being quite strong against that. So, what do I see the strengths and weaknesses of the JSA being? So, I think strengths-wise, you have very, very cheap troops. Your core troops are 9 points, your heavy infantry starts at 17. They're very averagely started, sure, but they throw out a lot of dice. That is a quality of itself. You can get 17 point close combat 23 martial artists into the enemy and start really ruining their day. This means if you want to take a 75 point Uyuroi tag with an HMG and all the usual tag tricks, you can do so without absolutely neutering your list. The force I took in our most recent video, if I was to drop the Daiokai and the Kuroshi Rider, I could take a tag. My list would not in any way have suffered, and I think actually I'm probably going to do that in the next list just to see how it goes. They are phenomenal in close combat. You have close combat monofilament weapons, you have double action weapons, you've got explosive weapons, and you've got a lot of them. If you can get up to somebody, you can just start taking them to pieces. Like I said, you do need to be careful of Natural Born Warrior, but you have that option in a way that some armies don't. like some of the Pan-Oceania lists, particularly the more orc-heavy ones like Varuna or Svaldheim, if they can't kill it with guns, they've got a real problem. JSA can kill it in close combat. They've got that. You'd almost actually say it's their strength, because a gun certainly ain't. You have the option of infiltrating hackers, ninjas, Onawabin, the Ryuken 9s that you can get. It's not the best hacking network, but they are WIP 13. You can get quite a lot of hackers, and you can get them to good positions to start really shutting down heavy infantry armies, or at least really inconveniencing them. You don't have particularly great doctors. The problem with a lot of doctors is if they can't be part of a link team, you're very unlikely to take them, because you're going to have to use orders on them. You don't have the Pan-Oceania option of them built into things like your Spittler Knights, your named specialist, who I apologise I haven't mentioned, so we'll just go over here and have a look at Yuriko for a second. Your Dire Foes character is an engineer. Now, she's really good. She can join your Kaisotsu team. She carries a gizmo kit, which is always handy. She has a Panzerfaust profile, which is phenomenal, because you stick her in a full-strength team and she can slap out at the right range band a BS-18 Panzerfaust at somebody. She's a mine layer. She has mimetism natively. She also has a forward observer profile, forward deployment profile that comes with an emitter, which in certain games is absolute god, and being able to get specialist up in certain games to things like tech coffins and data consoles and things like tech antennae is really, really strong. However, she is the exception. The other ones look stunning, but there is nothing special about them, and it's always very difficult to justify taking a doctor over a paramedic, because they're on their own. They end up having to burn a lot of orders, running often across chunks of no man's land. So you need to think very carefully about them. You also have very good skirmisher options. Now, some forces have one skirmisher. Yet again, harking back to Pan-Oceania, if you're playing military orders, you have the Trinian tertiaries. Now, they are god tier skirmishers. But as the JSA, you've got your Onawabin, you've got your ninjas, you've got your Kitsune Onawabin, you've got the special character Saito Togan. You also have your Jimbo, who a warband model can be throwing around smoke grenades. So you've got those options. You can sneak up on people, you can shut down areas of the table. The biker has a smoke launcher. I would rather smoke grenades, but smoke launchers I'm not going to say no to. So you can lay that smoke screen to get yourself up the table. You can fire it as an ARO to try and shut down the opponent's fire lanes in their turn. These are really, really strong. However, what you actually don't have is really big guns that once you've shut down some of the AROs and you want to start killing stuff without being shot back, you don't really have the big guns to do it. You've got the Kaisotsu HMG, but it's not the greatest choice. You've got a couple of remotes. One's got a missile launcher, one's got an HMG. Or you've got the tag. Now, this is really, really frustrating in some ways, because if you end up facing a Pan-O player, they could literally just sit and hold your arm's reach, where you have to try and weather a storm of bullets, being caught in all your wrong range bands for your Combi Rifles. You've no multi-rifles. I don't believe you have any multi-sniper rifles that I could find either. So you don't have that reach. You don't have those ammo options of, well, it's an ARO or double action. You've got Contenders, but Contenders don't have good range bands. They've got that mid-ground 8 to 16. I tend to find the problem with the Contender is it's on models that are closing the distance, who either close the distance very quickly, a la Yojimbo and Tankos, or they're on models who don't want to be faffing around at sort of 15, 16 inches away from people. Yojimbo gets murdered if anything can shoot him back. Yojimbo needs to be up in their face, chucking crazy koalas and hitting them with a sword. Tankos don't have the stats to engage in a gunfight, and with Impetuous they have to move towards the opponents as well, so you can actually end up finding yourself coming into your weaker range bands. Your lack of your lack of any visors is a real weakness as well, because one model with mimetism, and heaven forbid somebody of impersonation at level 2, is going to absolutely, it might be impersonation 1, I can't remember, the one where you have to discover them twice, is going to devastate you. You don't have ways of getting round the opponent's tricks. You can't albedo, to my knowledge. There's maybe one model with it, but it's not going to be something that's certainly in the core of your army. So you kind of have a very simple playing style, and the problem is that your cunning tricks of all your ninjas and things like that, anybody who's played against JSA knows there's going to be hidden deployment. They know the regular camo markers are mines, they know the Ryukens will be the -6s, and they will expect that every doorway, every staircase, and every piece of terrain in your half of the table is going to have a ninja skulking somewhere, maybe 2. Now this is good. Now, I'm not saying don't take ninjas and play the mind game. Take your ninja, but really make your opponents sweat. Do things like try and get line of sight from odd buildings. Sit there and sort of hum and haw and look really meaningfully across fire lanes that your ninja's actually nowhere near. Make them worry, make them move through the open rather than hugging terrain. Because I've had games where Stephen has literally walked around into a ninja, where Ben has walked around the corner and there's been a ninja waiting for him. I believe Onawabin carry nanopulsers, which is another brilliant way of, in the air row phase when the opponent's wandered past, and you're like, and I'll now place a nanopulser here and hopefully get a fire team. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I was able to explain my thoughts on the JSA and how I see some of them working. They are an army who I feel have to kind of advance up the table, sort of stage by stage. They don't form a solid fire base, and I know in some of the videos we've done, it looks like that's how I play them. That tends to be down to either poor decision making or running out of orders. But they are an army who is designed to move up into the mid-range, where those Contenders and Combi Rifles and the odd Spitfire have their +3, where you can get your chain rifles in to do some work. And then really what you're hoping for in turn 3, I feel, is that combat charge where you just come flinging out of cover, pick off the last people, get those guaranteed kills. They don't weather the storm particularly well, so you need to kind of play well. You should not be leaving home without models that can throw smoke in some way, shape or form. Remember, smoke launchers do not have a +3, so if you're going to be using smoke launchers, you need to make sure you've got a few of them, because I certainly found on my Kuroshi Rider, she couldn't lay smoke to save herself. Dodge face-to-faces where you can. Lay smoke to cover you so you don't have to make disadvantageous firefights. Surprise people and ninjas, and if all else fails, take a fire team of 2 Shikami and just headhunt their best stuff, leaping over buildings and climbing sheer surfaces like they weren't even there. Enjoy your games, folks. Hopefully the dice roll well for you, and I'll see you in another video soon.